Hey everyone, welcome back to JP's Budget Collecting and another episode of the Indie Show. Tonight we are talking Paper Girls. We're talking volumes 1 and 2, and I got an awesome crew with me tonight. I got one of the actual stars of John's Comics with Quick Kids, and not that John guy. We got Kate. What's going on?
Hey.
Are you excited to be here?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So your dad, I will say, I gave your dad a hard time, but your dad was like, when he heard I was going to read this, he's like, I should ask Kate. I bet she would like it, and I bet she'd want to participate. So I'm glad you are participating, and looking forward to hear what you had to think about this. We also got an author in her own right. We got Rena in the house tonight. What is going on, Rena?
Hey guys, I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
I am doing excellent and looking forward to this. Fresh off a little book tour. We're glad that you can join us and hang out with us, you know.
I know I got really nervous. I was like, okay, which day is this? What day does this fall on which weekend? I was like, oh, it's a Wednesday. That'll be fine.
Yeah, so well, I'm glad it worked out with timing and everything you have going on. So glad you could hang out with us tonight. And last but not least, we got my man Tacoma Comics. Oh wait, no, just Tacoma Comics tonight. So that's good. That's good.
Yeah, we're on the far side of the slump. So hopefully
that is good to hear.
We're doing okay.
Fingers crossed that you're fully on the road to recovery, and so didn't slow you down for being a 2-time Comic Wars champion earlier this week. So you know.
There you go.
So we do have a few people hanging out in the chat. Some Burning Block kid that I think Rena might know. Something.
It seems vaguely familiar.
Kavi.
We got Kavi, Comic Books NYC, who's probably a little mad at me. I didn't include him on this one, but he got Sandman. So I just, I know he loves this story. So glad that he is here tonight. Then we got some John guy. I don't know who that guy is. So
Sandman premieres in a week too.
Yeah, and Life with Two YouTubers, somebody else that Rena might know. I don't know. So,
that one jogs more of a memory. Yeah,
that one jogs more of a memory. Yeah. So. And then we had GT Key hanging out early, so I'm glad everyone that's hanging out with us tonight. So as always, I like to on this panel tonight, we will be talking spoilers. We are at least getting to read this right before the show comes out. I think I said on my Instagram Thursday. I think it's actually Friday that the show launches on Amazon. So looking forward to seeing that now that I've read this. But Tacoma's the only one that's read all the way. So Kate, we're going to start with you. What was your first impression? What did you think of these first 2 volumes when you started reading them?
I thought it was really cool. It was it did give me Stranger Things vibes almost, like with the bikes in the 80s and everything. And I'm obviously interested in Stranger Things. So
no.
I was like, I know, right? Shocker. But like, I was interested in it right away. And the whole theme, the characters are super cool. And it's so complex. Like, it's just like the universe is so big for it and it's so cool. So I really liked it. It was really cool. And it left me with thoughts.
Yeah. What about you, Rena? What did you think? Because you were a first-time reader of this. What did you think of these first 2 volumes?
Well, if we are asking very first impressions, the very first thing that came to my mind was, oh my God, this is so violent. Just that opening sequence. Where she's having the dream, I was like, this is so messed up.
Yeah.
I think it's a really cool concept because, I mean, Kate's right, it is almost kind of like a Stranger Things. I kind of had, I forget the name of the movie, but there's another movie that gave me similar vibes to this as well. So it was very intriguing to read through and kind of see what was going on. But it is also really confusing. But I know we'll talk more about that later.
Yeah, I will say before I let Tacoma go, I'm gonna, because you use that word as that my overall impression of these first 2 volumes is I am confused, but in a very good way. Like I have no understanding of where this is going or what is actually happening, but I'm enjoying every second of the confusion of turning the page and having no idea what you're going to see next. And as someone who was a little hesitant on this one just because everyone told me how wonderful Saga was, and I was just like, it was fine. It wasn't great. So I was like, coming back to Brian K. Vaughan for this this is lived up to the hype that I've gotten from my friends like Kavi that have told me I needed to read this. So hopefully it will continue to do so. But I really enjoyed these first 2 volumes. So Tacoma, what was your first? If you can remember your first reaction to when you read it originally, and then coming back to it, what do you think about these first 2 volumes?
Okay, so we've already mentioned Stranger Things, right? And this actually predates Stranger Things by like a year or 6 months. It actually was the first 80s nostalgia that came out right before Stranger Things, but kind of kicked off a little bit of that whole thing. I was 17 years old in 1988 when this takes place. So
Wow.
I'm loving this from a cultural aspect, right? This is like, I'm oops, it just turned off. I'm going digital for the first time ever, right?
Yeah.
Anybody know who that poster is?
It's kind of
Which poster? The one above
The one above her bed. Yeah, the one behind her shoulder.
Is that Duran Duran?
No, but you're very, very close, my friend. Very, very close. That's the band that I was in love with that I saw Radio City Music Hall at Madison Square Garden.
Oh, Depeche Mode. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I was all in as like a new wave synth band boy. Depeche Mode, Duran Duran, Erasure, U2, of course, The Smiths. That whole like heavy 80s English influenced pop was like what I lived for and what me and my friends were into. So like I love this as like just a cultural background. And I was a paper boy. I had a bicycle with a basket and I delivered newspapers for New York Newsday. So this kind of hit all those points, right?
Yeah.
Reading it. As far as the story went, it was less confusing the second time through. It's definitely better as a trade.
Yeah.
And I think I'm finding that with almost every indie book, maybe not superhero books, but indie books are definitely better as trades. You get a little bit of that confusion factor wiped away. Shout out Sharon. Boys Don't Cry, The Cure. I saw The Cure at Madison Square Garden, Jones Beach. Yeah. So yeah, it was it was just wonderful to read, and it doesn't feel like Vaughn is going heavy into nostalgia just to like score points with people like me.
Yeah.
It feels like he's going into it just enough sprinkled in the backdrop of a story to tell a really important story.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really enjoyed it. And this is unfortunately probably because I've read it twice. Don't worry about the confusion. I think it makes it a better story if you just focus on the fact that it's about the friendship of 4 girls.
Yeah.
If you put that at the forefront, then you don't have like you can never figure out what's going on in a time story because there's always paradoxes beyond the resolve that they explain in the story.
Yeah.
Right. It still doesn't work. So just enjoy it.
Yeah, and I will say, like, I am enjoying actually the confusion aspect of it. Like it's not obviously you can get to the point where it's like, wait, where it overwhelms you. It has not overwhelmed me yet in terms of because the characters themselves are so well developed, even right off the bat. Like I feel like these kids, I grew up. I was 10 in '88, so a little younger than you, but like I remember all of these things as well, and like. Yeah, I could have known these kids for sure. And so I want to talk about that a little bit before we get into like details of the story of these 4 paper girls of I'm blanking now, KJ and Mac and Tiffany and Aaron. Like what do you think of them just as characters? We'll start with Rena this time. What did you think of these 4 girls and the characters and that we get introduced to? Our main protagonists are 4 paper girls here.
I would say that individually as characters, I think they're each really well done because I would say each girl kind of has a different personality type, and they show it a lot through their interactions and kind of their speech patterns. Mac, the one who smokes a lot, you can tell that she is your bad girl, and that KJ and Tiffany, especially Tiffany. I mean, Tiffany the whole time, she's the only one who's ever like trying to like like, yeah, we can do this, or maybe it's nothing, you know, kind of like the one trying to look at the bright side. So I think just as their base characters, I think they did a really, really good job because each girl, they don't really overlap all that much. There's a different aspect to each of the girls that separates them out really, really well.
Yeah. What about you, Kate? What did you think of these 4 girls?
I totally agree. They're all significantly different from each other, which is really cool. They all look different. They all, like Rena said, they all talk differently, and they all have very different attitudes towards what's essentially the time apocalypse that's happening in their town.
Yeah.
And it's so cool to like see them all connect because they are all so different from each other. So it's really cool.
So I will say, like, for me, like, the thing I found interesting is they are 4 very, like, very much, you know, most stories you got the girl from the wrong side of the tracks, and the girl the shy one that doesn't have many friends, and the, you know, the smart and the rich girl. You know, they kind of fit these like typical tropes, and yet I don't feel like they're not. None of them are one note. Like those tropes that he, like the blocks that he puts them in, they're not one note. At least not for me. What did you think, Tacoma?
I agree, but I don't think it matters what I think, right? Because I want to know what Kate thinks. Kate, you're like a year and a half older than these girls. Do they feel like, other than the fact that they listen to different music, have different hairstyles, and they don't know what an iPod is, like, are these real girls? Do they feel real?
There's definitely similarities, like the way that some of them talk and the way their humor is. Some of them have like a distinct humor that I still kind of understand just because some of my friends have the similar like vibe almost as some of them.
Yeah.
So I do think they're very similar to some people I know in my life, which is really cool.
That's really cool, because I think any adult is going to look at this, and you kind of, as you get older, you like lose the nuances. Like as a teenager, nobody gets me, nobody understands me. You don't know what it's like to be like this, right? And then the older you get, the more you just look for the general strokes and not the individual details. So to me, they feel like 4 girls I might have grown up and hung out with, right? Like they feel like the girls if they kick the guys out of the group and we're hanging out on their own. But I know those girls, but I don't know if that matters because I'm not a 12-year-old anymore. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think that's interesting. That was one of the reasons I was excited to have Kate on this panel, was because she has the perspective of these girls are similar age and going through very different yet very similar state. I mean, obviously it's a time apocalypse or whatever that they're going through, but it's also about their friendship and trying to find their way in. And so I was very curious, and I was glad when your dad suggested having you on this, because yeah, for me, I do feel like I know these kids, but that's all nostalgia. Like Ian said, it's all like, for me, that's all nostalgia, trying to remembering. So I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, you see that they do indeed strike some real notes that I felt like I found in here, but I was curious. What about you, Rena? You're not that far away from this age group. Do you know these girls? Did you know these girls?
I mean, to a slight degree. I mean, I would even say that I would probably be the type of person to be like, yeah, this will be fine, you know, like trying to keep everybody else calm while I'm internally panicking, you know. But I don't know. I would say that Mac's character, especially for me, I couldn't really see like anybody that I knew or anything of the sort. I mean, like I knew girls that would, you know, swear a lot and stuff like that, but this girl's 12 and she's smoking. I mean, when I first saw that, I was like, excuse me? What
a different time.
What are you doing with a pack of cigarettes? Where is your parents?
1988 was a different time.
My high school,
I knew kids that smoked at 12.
Girls, my high school had a smoking area. Yeah. Like this was like an area where you were supposed to go if you were a smoker, so you weren't smoking outside all over campus.
Right.
So like for kids, not for teachers, for kids. This was the smoking lounge, they called it. It was just like a covered area between 2 hallways in the basement.
It was a different world when it came to that kind of thing. So her smoking at 12 is not while looking back on it, it's like ridiculous. It was at the time it happened. It was.
Don't do this at home, kids.
Yeah, no. There's lots of things that we've moved on from, which is good, and that's one of them. So. Yeah, yeah. So it was not hard to get cigarettes back then. Like at one point, it wasn't like when I was a kid. I remember when they bumped the age to 18, like because it was 16, and it was so easy to get them. Like because it was crazy. So in school had a basement. Didn't allow that as much as yeah. Well, not everybody did, but I lived, on the boonies. So, all right, so let's dig into the story. Rena, you already mentioned it. The opening here with the dream, like, I assume that's going to come back in some way, but like, I don't know.
You mentioned that. I was like, is it just me, or do they build up this whole opening sequence about Erin's fear about her sister dying? And you never see the sister ever again. This is the only time.
Well, you see her. No, well, we see her. No. She's the pilot.
Oh no. Okay. Well, but that's the adult version, though.
You see the adult version. You don't see the kid version after she wakes her up. No. Yeah.
No. Well, because like she's mentioned once when they like after they've warped through time and they come back to the house and like everything is desolate. You know, they're mentioned. I think they mentioned her as like where is she? Where'd she go? But no, I thought that was really weird that like they made it a point to show that Erin, you know, is unafraid of these monsters, you know, especially when it comes to her sister's safety, and nothing comes of it. I mean, like the only thing I can think of is that it must have been a foreshadowing of the fact that she was going to time warp and that maybe the protection that she feels for her sister has instead rubbed off onto her new friends. But I don't know. I thought it was a really weird opening sequence considering that basically the rest of the story is something completely different.
Yeah. What about you, Ian? I'll let you go a little sooner this time. What did you think of the opening? Like,
so I honestly don't remember. You know, so I'm not being facetious. I think that it was more to establish her character than a direct foreshadowing, and I could be wrong, but it works the same way. Just the idea that she does show an incredible amount of courage in front of this weird, bizarre demon that is the culmination of her religious fears and her school fears. You know, it's got angel wings, it's got the NASA helmet because mom and dad wanted her to be in NASA or something, or I think NASA's like located in their town. There's a couple references to NASA throughout, right? And then, you know, the quiz about the Cuyahoga River and which tribe is named after sounds like every middle school nightmare. You know, and her response is F you. Her sister does die, but, you know, she seems to, you know, have made her bed and is willing to lay in it there.
Yeah. What about you, Kate? What did you think of that little opening? And maybe it's not important and we shouldn't spend any time on it. I just thought it was kind of a weird aside to start the book.
It was. The apple theme throughout the book is really cool, and it's like literally the first panel that we see, second panel is like an apple. So it leads all through the story. So that was kind of cool, but like, yeah, it was weird. Like the astronaut, is it Krista I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but she
Krista McAuliffe,
yeah, exactly. I don't know, that was kind of weird, but it was still pretty cool. And then the art style all through it is like so cool. The like demon guy that looks like a weird like goat or something, he's so cool. But her sister's like speaking gibberish. The only time we see her speak in that whole scene is when she's saying like random words. I don't know, it was odd.
Was just an odd opening. So so let's actually, before we get further into the story, let's talk about the Cliff Chiang art. I'm a big fan of this artist. My guess is, Kate, this is your first exposure to him as an artist. What did you think about the art in these books?
I read the Wonder Woman.
Oh, okay, you have read. So you have been exposed to him before.
Mm-hmm.
I think this might be mine.
Is this your first, or what did you think of the? I'll let you start then, Rena.
I actually really enjoyed the art style. I thought that the play on a lot of the lighting that he did that they did is really really well done. Especially like even just right after the dream sequence. I mean, literally the next page after the dream sequence, where she is sitting at the table, and you've just got like the shadow play in the dark corners, and it's only illuminated over the newspapers. And there's even that apple again, which Kate had mentioned. There's the apple right in the forefront there. I think the lighting and the way that the scenes are dramatized, like or like when Mac is lighting her cigarette and you only see the light on the upper part of her cheek and in her hand, a few pages later, just stuff like that. I thought it was really really well done. So
For that, we need to mention Matt Wilson as the colorist on this. So there's Cliff Chang lines, and Matt Wilson's the colorist. So because the two of them though do a fantastic job. You're right, working together to highlight all of this stuff. But yeah, no, I just like to always mention the color. Keep going. Sorry, I just like to always make sure we mention the colors as well as the thing. But I was trying to find that the cigarette panel there. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. No, I thought a lot of it was really well done because there's also tons of perspective shots as well. I mean, just throughout the whole thing, it's not kind of your token. You see them in the same spot over and over as the dialogue continues. There is a different angle or a different, like even like top view, bottom view, them in different orders. And there's so much going on in all of the backgrounds. I thought it was really, really well done that they had done such detail into all of this. And then the color on the lighting, like I said.
Yeah. The use of because when we see like the pink and purple sky and the use of the pink and purple, like whenever throughout coloring wise, like the whole rest of their night as they're going around town. Like the consistency and how well he uses that color, I think, is really fantastic to go with just the line art like we're talking about. So, I'll come back to Sharon's question in a little bit. So let's dig in a little bit into the story. Oh, Ian, I didn't give you a chance. What do you think about the Cliff Chang?
So it's really it's amazing, right? Because they limit what they're able to do by having everything be in these flat, like dual tones. There's no flashes of brightness. Everything is matte colors, but they're able to do a lot with that. There's very little like shading on faces. Everything is very matte, but within that, they're really able to give quite a bit of personality to the characters with the line art and the color palette that they choose. And I think Cliff and Matt did a remarkable job here. It really brings you in. It's consistent, and I'll tell you, it's consistent throughout all 6 volumes. No spoilers, and it just it blows you away.
Yeah, I mean, just some of these panels, I think most of it is like the faces and stuff, but you get these just crazy panels of the world and all this stuff's going on. So let's dig back into the story a little bit. So we meet this girl basically starting her paper route, and she immediately runs into doing it on November 1st. So it's Halloween night, All Hallows Eve, or the morning after, I should say. And she runs into some kids and she meets these other paper girls. So what did you think of just their first meeting and how these 4 characters are in the introduction of these 4? Kate, we'll start with you this time.
The introduction for her name is Mac, right? Mackenzie?
Yeah.
Okay. Her introduction is so cool. Obviously, Erin's getting harassed by these kids, and the 3 of them, is it Tiffany, KJ, and then Mac, right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. The way they just go in and they start insulting the people who are harassing Erin is so cool, and then they just kind of take her under their wings, and it's so cool. I love the character Mac. She's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, they instantly look after this girl that they don't know because she's doing what they're doing. And so, what about you, Rena? What did you think of our introduction here? Like how they all kind of swoop in and help her and kind of team up to make it through a pain, as it's listed at the beginning, Hell Night.
Yeah. I think it was really well done. I mean, maybe it's just because I'm a sucker for, like helping the underdog type situations. And I mean, that's kind of what they do is they see her getting picked on by older teenagers. And I mean, Mackenzie just has no fear. She just swoops in and basically curses these guys out and intimidates them into just shuffling along. And it also I think it also really gives you an insight to their character as like their characters as well, especially Mackenzie's in that one scene, because I mean it just exudes that, brave, confident, I don't care what you think about me vibe.
Yeah.
But the fact that she stopped to help a complete stranger against these bullies also shows that she kind of has that soft spot. So I think just right there in on itself does a really good job kind of characterizing her just in those first glimpses that we get of her.
Yeah. I would agree with that. You get, and you also get in their explanation, they've all kind of been there. Like,
Yeah.
the reason they team up is they've all kind of been there. So they see what she's going through that they've kind of had to deal with. Tacoma, you got anything to add to that?
No, just a question. So where I grew up, there is Mischief Night the night before Halloween, and it was like an acknowledged named night that I thought was like a national holiday, where Mischief Night was where you caused mischief, where you threw toilet paper, where you egged houses. And I couldn't wait till I was old enough to convince my parents to let me go out on Mischief Night, which they never did until I was too old to care. But they called this Hell Morning or something, like where the three of you grew up. And I don't think this is an 80s thing. I think this is a regional thing. Did you have like nights or a day that was like dedicated around Halloween to being mean and bullying and horrible?
No.
Halloween? No. It just, no, I don't.
Right,
I
like
don't
where I
remember
grew up, it
anything
was separated.
Yeah.
It was very, very weird. Okay, so they called this Hell Morning. Like they were expecting the morning after Halloween to wake up at 4:40 and to have a problem with like kids still hanging around causing problems. That kind of, I never encountered that. So Bear Island says in Detroit it's Devil's Night. So there is
So yeah,
they're locally created.
We just it's locally thing because we did not have that. Like where I grew up, it was whatever mischief or whatever people got up to was Halloween or whatever, but it wasn't like this. Yeah, it was. Just the people that caused mischief anytime were the ones that did it on Halloween. It wasn't like a special thing. So,
like, I want that on a T-shirt right there. With the exception of the caption, which is something else. There's the ring light, but just not bright. I don't know why. Anyway, it just like the three of them aligned like that is just really cool.
Yeah.
But it also again shows, I think, a bit of the 80s that it was more acceptable to speak like that. Not that it was ever okay, but that it was more common, let's say, to speak like that.
For sure.
She has some choice words which may not be appropriate
to air.
Yeah. So after their little confrontation with the bullies, we get right off the bat, like just a couple pages in, we get the weird guys. We get that this is not going to be just about delivering papers, because we get these weird like monk guys coming across the screen.
There is no buildup whatsoever. It's like, all right, you've met your girls, let's get started.
Yeah. So basically, they split into two teams, and they run into these guys who like steal some stuff from Tiffany, and they follow them to a house, and they immediately come across this weird living ship thing. It looks like there's like actual flesh, and
it looks like there's brains.
Yeah. So what were you guys thinking at this part? I'm just curious what you guys were thinking, because when I turned the page, this is not what I thought I was gonna see.
I thought it was gonna be some sort of like weird lawnmower or something. I don't know, but like it looks like a freakish intestine brain zombie cyborg mix.
Yeah,
it's like really weird. It's cool, but it's random.
For sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, and we get, and I'm curious about this because like they're just throwing us in, and the girls have no idea what's going on. They're like, is this some kind of alien or War of the Worlds? This is the first thing they reference, and then it kind of like blasts them with some sort of like radiation thing, and so Rena, your mom asked us in the question, like, and we'll start with you just from a writer's perspective, like. There's a lot of lack of clarity. We talked about confusion and stuff. What do you think about that as you're going through this? And then, I mean, they come back outside, and then suddenly, like, the sky is just
It's
all,
like, yeah.
So what are you thinking?
Honestly, it kind of like, if I'm going to be completely brutally honest, for me, it kind of muddled the whole rest of the story for me, just because the whole time I had no idea what was going on. You know, there's no real consistency, and I mean, I'm sure that probably later on it's going to get explained a little bit more, but for me, I got really, really tired of it really quickly. I think if they had, you know, because there's a whole segment much later where Erin is talking to some of these guys in the robes, where she actually gets to talk to them, and they explain, all right, look, there's us, you know, teenagers who basically scavenge to survive, and then there is the other clan where it's kind of these super high official beings, and he's like kidnapping people off the face of the planet, you know. So, you know, we get a little bit of explanation there. But as far as them jumping around in time, and, you know, like there's pterodactyls in the sky and the green orb monster with all the eyeballs, none of that is explained. And like, and none of it is consistent. Like, you know, at least in Stranger Things, all of the monsters are from one place. In, you know, like Back to the Future, it's a time movie, you know, but it's almost like they tried to mix the
dinosaurs.
Dinosaur, yes. It's like they tried to mix the two genres, and so far it has not done much for me.
Which is funny. Go ahead. No, finish.
No, I was gonna say it recaptures my attention when they meet future Erin, which I think is the huge lure that they're using for the TV show. But yeah, I would say that basically after all of the monsters start showing up and all the craziness starts happening, I was kind of like, okay, sure. All right, whatever. But it didn't recapture my attention again until they met future Erin. So I think just from a writer's standpoint, I think they should have put a little bit more in sooner about some of the explanation about what's going on. You know, and I know it's supposed to be kind of an experience where we're supposed to be experiencing it with these girls and have no idea what's going on. But I think they should have had more explanation bits, kind of like how they had with Erin and the guys in the robes.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll just like I've enjoyed that. Like, there's no explanation. Like, we'll see. Now it can get old. Like, I totally agree that like there comes a point where it's like, okay, it's time to start explaining stuff. But for me, to this point, I haven't needed it. I've been along for the crazy ride because the guys are bad and they're evil, and then they help save them, and then there's like these other monsters, and it's like, well, wait, who's the bad guys? And even as we get later into the volume, it's like you're still not understanding who are these people coming back to the future should they actually be afraid of, and like what is going on. So for me, I'm still like, it didn't go like we got the future Erin and stuff quick enough that like it hasn't lost me yet by being too confusing, I guess. Tacoma, what do you think? Like, because that's really that first.
I think Rena makes a great point. Right? There is a point and remember, we're only in the first issue, right?
Yeah. Well, the first volume, I think.
First volume.
Yeah.
So there is a point at which your attention wavers because I think we are used to linear structures. We want linear structures, and so much is being thrown at us that we can't establish good and bad and which side is which, but that's intentional,
Yeah.
right? And whether that works for you is a different story, but it's intentional because every group is trying to convince our four friends that they are the safe group, right? Oh,
Yeah.
those others will tell you this and that, right? And then the other group comes along. Oh, we're going to fix the timeline. You don't have to worry about anything. We're going to take care of it. Don't listen to anybody else. So every group is convinced, other than like maybe the tardigrades that just want to eat things. Every
Yeah.
group seems to think like, oh, listen to us and follow us. So we're really being set up to like, we have to trust the instincts of these four innocent, paper girls against everything else. And are they going to be able to trust each other enough to get through all of this?
Yeah.
And like I said, whether it works or not is a different story, but I do think it's intentional, and it loses your attention at some point because there's so much in like 5 or 6 pages of just like different groups coming at you. You're like, whoa, wait a second. Does this group have a name? Right. And they don't give them a name. And I
Yeah.
think that we want like, okay, these are the Autobots, these are the Decepticons, these are the Dinobots, like I grew up in the world of like classifying like G.I. Joe. There was like 5,000 characters, right?
Right.
Star Wars is all these characters. So like you want to classify all the good guys and bad guys in the factions. And this is definitely going against that and just saying like, it's our 4 girls and then this crazy time apocalypse, like Kate said, which is a great term.
Well, and is there any way to decipher what they're saying? Like the teenagers when they talk back and forth before they get those collars that helps them speak. Like I found myself skimming that because I was like, okay, great. You see them setting things up, but you don't know what they're saying, so you don't really care.
Well, and I
Yeah.
don't. So, and here's the thing. Like, I'm gonna go back to hit. I think, and we'll see where it goes. Like, ultimately, I don't know that the 2 guys and the third one that like gets killed. I don't know that they're actually all that important, other than they're a symptom of whatever this event is, and they're like starting the girls down this thing. They're the thing that pushes them into this new world and experience.
Right.
But I don't know that any of that matters because we get them, and then we get the guy on the dinosaur, and then we get and then we get the weird like Aaron ends up getting shot, and you see like the apple, like the apple is clearly the theme, and then they find the weird apple device, and even the guys when they're like stealing stuff, like when they're healing her and they're somewhere stealing stuff, you see the little ship they're using has an apple on it or whatever that they're using to heal her. And so, but yeah, I don't know that any of this ultimately, I'm curious how much of what happens in volume 1, other than being the launching point, actually matters going forward. I mean, but then we get the old guy who's like clearly some sort of force that like
My father.
Yeah. But I am like the whole first volume, they goes to this and they return to the ship and they get, and then they get sucked through time as the end of this first volume. And yeah, and we see Aaron. So I don't know. There's a lot there, but I don't know how much of it was super important. Is there anything you guys really like took from the first volume in this whole craziness that happens once they meet these guys that are from the future? Go ahead, Rena.
Oh, I was gonna say there was one thing that I did really like in the first volume. I will just do the quick side mention though of the bugs cleaning up her bullet wounds.
Yeah.
Freaked me out. Yeah. No, but the part that I really actually liked is the first time you see that eyeball creature and it wraps around Tiffany, right? Yeah, that's Tiffany, right? Yeah. I like the sequence where it shows in all of the different colors her playing this game over and over and over.
That's so well done.
It is really well done. And, and it shows the time passing, like her New Year's and the snow, through rain and through summer, and shows, and she even says afterwards, she's like, my God, I wasted my life on this game. I think that was really well done. And I think it's a very interesting way for her to get character development. Because even though she hasn't been established as, a gamer girl up until this point, they make it they make it such a thing to where you can see that it is very much so bothered her. And I think that was really well done, not only to show kind of what this creature does, but to give her an arc as far as, she's waking up. And even though there's all this craziness going on, it's something in her real life that she's going, what am I doing? So I really liked that whole sequence a lot. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. That sequence I thought was really good. I did enjoy the sequence, like of they after Aaron gets shot and they trust these guys that they don't know, and then they just disappear, and it's like they're like, oh crap, like what did we do? Because they have no idea, And then of course and KJ's like, oh, we trust them and they bailed on us, which ultimately it works out, but it's just like it was such a. I thought that was really well done, and then I love the sequence when they like get the woman that catches them or whatever to give up her weapon, and the cage is like smooth move. The gun isn't even loaded, and Max like the look on Max's face, like why would you do that?
Yeah,
like it's like you.
I think I want to go back to something a little bit earlier though. When we meet Max's mom, when they get the gun or stepmom, right? And you get it kind of felt like a cliche character from 80s kids movies, but just like the drunken rambling stepmom. You clearly see Max's background. There's a gun in the house. There's a stepmom who's an alcoholic, and they're saying shouldn't you be in AA? And just all that I think was well done. Just the four girls going to the house, and like for them, I think it seemed like none of them had really gotten that deep of a glimpse. Like, it's always interesting meeting your friends' parents, and kind of it gives you another dimension to their personality, to like the why are they like that. So I kind of like that. And then, like you said, the bug sewing up of Erin, and then she kind of hops out, and the grandfather. There's still a lot going on, even though it becomes a bit more coherent.
And we end the volume with the folding that sends them through time, and they meet adult Erin, who clearly has been through this because she has the bullet wound scar but has no memory of this.
Well, it's like the past affecting the future.
Yeah, the past affecting the future. So what did you think when adult Erin shows up? We'll start with Tacoma this time. I'm usually been making him go last. I'll let Tacoma go here first.
So we're starting volume 2 now.
Well, at the end of volume 1 here, where adult Erin shows up.
It's funny. Like again, the fashion contrast between the 80s and 2016, the smart car, right? And they're and Erin is. I guess in some ways most innocent of all these, and she goes, my name is Erin Tiang. Deliver newspapers. My friends and I need help, please. And she's like, is this a joke? I'm Erin Tiang, and I just thought it was a great cliffhanger, right? It's just a great way to kind of be like, okay, what the heck just happened? And then you got to wait till the next volume or the next issue to kind of figure out what exactly is going on here.
Yeah,
and Sharon just said it. Nobody wants to meet their mom, really.
Nobody wants their mom wants their friends to meet their mom. That's like that.
Oh no! Look at my comment right below it, though. I'm just saying.
Well, there is a stage though when you're 12 to 17, 18, depending on how your relationship with your parents is, where most kids, not all, most, become embarrassed by their parents to the point of they're like, no, they don't. And then you grow out of it. Like it is.
This is true.
Yeah.
For my dad. Only my dad.
When you're young, like your parents walk on water, and there's a stage we all go through somewhere in our teenage years where it's like my parents are idiots and they suck, and then like to a degree, to a more or lesser degree, and then as you get older, you realize, oh well, they actually were kind of smart. So it's just kind of like you gain that appreciation back for what they are. So yeah, during that period, nobody wants their friends to meet their mom.
I always wanted my friends to meet my mom. All my friends loved my mom, so I don't fit into that. I don't fit into the majority here.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, our friends love our parents, right?
Oh, they do. Yeah.
But we're always embarrassed because we see them differently than our friends do, and our friends are ready to excuse all the stuff that makes us just go, oh God, Mom, and that's a classic trope. And again, but I definitely remember it happening at some points when it was exactly like that. So, but in this case, now she gets to see, what did I turn into? So it's not just meeting an embarrassing older version. It's like all my hopes and dreams. How far did I get? Is Mom going to be upset with me or proud of what I turned out to be? And how do I reconcile that with what I thought?
Yeah. So Kate, what did you think of this whole sequence when Aaron meets Aaron and here?
I thought it was kind of funny, just the way that Aaron's like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm Aaron, what do you mean? And then they just kind of like look at each other. It's just funny, honestly. Everything about these are funny, but just the way before the car even stops, the way Mac, Tiffany, and Aaron are all like kind of arguing about the like, God, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And like, we lost our stupid gun. And it's like they just like, it's so funny. And then like Tacoma said, Aaron is so innocent and like so polite, where she's like, I need help, and she's like, please help us. And then it's just, yeah, Aaron's really cool.
I do love Mac here at the end because her reference is perfect for a kid of that age, which was Back to the Future. We got Back to the Future, it's like which was the movie of that, for a couple year period there. That was like, if you were a certain age, that was one of the biggest movies of the 80s, and yeah, it's like, since the 2016, which isn't quite the right year, but. Oh, I do love, and it's like, so she, like, I do love, and Tacoma talks about it, it's like, so when young Aaron realizes that's her, like, you see her head go down, she's like, and then the rest of the time, she's like looking like, oh no, that's what I turned into? Like, the disappointment of 12-year-old Aaron is just, yeah, and then like the questions that they ask each other, and they start figuring things out.
What's your social security number?
I have no idea. So, Rena, did you have something else? I feel like you maybe had something else on this sequence, or did we already get to it? I forget now.
No, I mean, I said earlier that that's where it recaptured my attention, is when Aaron met Aaron, and I love the contrast between the two of them, because young Aaron like doesn't like to swear, and the older Aaron is constantly swearing, and she's like, "What's your language?"
It's almost like a joke to be cool.
Right?
Yeah.
And did it bother anyone else that KJ just blips out of existence for a whole volume?
Yeah. Like, again, the confusion of what the heck is going on. So, yeah, so they follow, older Aaron takes them home, and they're trying to figure out, and they realize that what they saw before is happening again now at this time with the skies. And then we get, and before they even get to the Apple thing, we get this like new weird red suited person shows up, like bug-like person, and then it's Aaron.
It's Aaron.
Yeah.
I know, it's so confusing.
Yeah. So what did you think when we got a third Aaron into the story? Kate, we'll let you go this time.
I don't know. I was reading it and I was like, oh, cool, like a new character. And then Aaron, she took the helmet off and it was Aaron. I was like, another Aaron? What? And it was funny. Everything is funny, but like, I was so confused. I was like, I was hoping it would be some sort of like cool alien or something, but it's just Aaron and like speaking like some random language too. I was like,
Well, speaking the same, based on the way the marks are, the same language those guys were speaking in
Yeah.
Volume 1. Yeah, so
Yeah.
so clearly from some sort of future that we haven't seen yet, and
Well, they explain it.
they do
Oh,
explain it eventually
yeah.
that she's like a clone, basically.
She's a
that,
clone.
like,
yeah.
yeah,
From those
So-
crazy little bugs that were patching up her stomach. Yeah.
yeah. What did you think when Aaron number 3 shows up, Karina?
Shaking my head. I'm like, oh, all right. I'm like, because I even said, like, when you meet the future Aaron and now you have that double Aaron standard, I'm like, okay, all right, this is catching my interest now, because now we moved kind of out of, what is going on. Everything is falling down around their ears. To they've jumped to the future and they've met the future self and they're like, okay, well, now we got to figure out how to get back. And then the third one shows up and you're like, why was this necessary? Because I mean, as far as I can tell, I mean obviously we haven't read further than this yet, but she was only important for this volume, because they received KJ's hockey stick, which KJ miraculously has no idea where the message on her hockey stick appeared from. I'm waiting to see how they explain that one. And then, they end up kicking her off into the portal, after she attacks adult Aaron. And I'm like, okay, so she was really only a character that they used just for this. I mean, so
Maybe.
unless she
I mean,
comes back later,
Yeah.
And I'm having a bad feeling that it says don't trust the other Aaron. I'm starting to get a bad feeling that they did the cliche where it was like they booted the first Aaron that they thought was evil, and then later on it's actually going to be that, oh no, that was the Aaron that we were supposed to trust the whole time. I'm kind of waiting for that cliche.
Well, so I mean, we're jumping ahead, but the two Aarons the original and the old Aaron go off on their own to like following this Apple device, and they find KJ's hockey stick, and it's got a message: "Don't trust other Aaron. Get to the fourth folding," which other Aaron helps them get to, which is the other gap in time. But yeah, so what did you think? Did you immediately, when you saw that, think that it's Aaron number 3 or older Aaron? Which one did you think was not trustworthy? I think you kind of get a glimpse of that when she's like helping him in the alley, that she's clearly like, when she arrives, she clearly kills somebody, whether it's accidentally or on purpose. But what did you think when you saw the message? Tacoma, what did you think of the "Don't trust other Aaron"?
So at first you think it's, or at least I felt it was the older Aaron, right? But then and as I read it, I realized she's holding off deciding, and I wasn't sure why. But as you go through this, I think it's a theme that's slowly developing, but it's the idea of like, and I don't know if it's just supposed to be the instincts of the young, right, or if it's the instincts of they're not adults yet, so they haven't been kind of touched by that evil of growing up. But it's very much about she wasn't sure herself until she saw what was going on. But even the ones who've helped them, the two teenagers who healed her with bugs, and then this I'm going to call a red backpack Aaron, they're only helping the girls in as much as
it helps them.
It helps their own agenda, right?
Yeah.
It's never about the girls' agenda. It's about their own agenda. Hey, I know what's good for you. Follow me. I'm going to save you. And bang, bang, I'll shoot that bad guy. I'll shoot that bad guy. Now I've proved myself. Come with me. But it's never about what the girls want. It's always about their own agenda. Yeah. And so I think there's, that's kind of the dividing line between how to choose who is out there to help you and who is the enemy. And like Rena could be right. We don't know if she made the right choice. I don't remember. It was years ago when I read this. But yes, something happened. I wanted to go back a bit because
Okay, yeah.
we're skipping over all my favorite moments. Are like,
well, yeah. Well, we did 2 volumes, so there was a lot to cover here. So
like
go
when
for
they're
it.
in old Erin's kitchen. I'm going to call her old, even though she's 10 years younger than me. First of all, there's waters in the fridge. Max or Tiffany's like, there's more than one type of water. Right?
Yeah, that's one type of water.
We grew up in a world with it, and then they're starting to have an argument. All of a sudden, Tiffany yells, "Mrs. Tiang, is this giant rectangle a TV?" I mean,
in their faces, yes, they're like the sparkly, like, oh, look at this TV.
The only people I knew that had a TV anywhere close to a modern flat screen was like my richest friends, and they were projection TVs. So they literally were like these massive boxes that had 3 lights in the ground, red, blue, and green, that projected up at the TV. And today we would think that the quality is just horrible.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And then to see, like, to live and now own like a large flat screen TV is beyond my wildest dreams as a kid. So just seeing those few little things in there, you win the lottery.
Yeah, and like, look how many buttons future remotes have. And I'm old enough to remember, like, when we got our first TV that had a remote.
They're mesmerized by
Remember cable boxes? They were actually boxes like this with like push button switches
on the top. Yep.
How do you remember these things, Rena?
No, I am the between generation. I grew up with a landline phone. We did not get like the first generation of like cell phones until I was like 9 or 10. And that was just because I would go.
No way, you're the between.
I'm the between. No, I remember our old cable box TV with all the buttons, and it would play the VHS tapes. No, I remember all that.
I mean, it's just it's crazy. The things that they latch onto are the things we don't think about now, but it's like where technology has come. It's kind of like the old, like I almost wish we'd seen it. Like the old rotary, like when they see the phone and they're like, "What in the world?" And that is a phone, and there's a whole bunch of them just being stunned by things that we don't even think about that have changed so much technology-wise.
I also love the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle reference on the screen. You get one single panel. I'm like,
we'll throw some turtles in there.
In my house, we have a VHS tape TV, and we have like a DVD Roku, like Netflix streaming service TV.
Yeah.
And the difference between them, like one of them will like crackle when you turn it on, and it just like it's like static all over the screen after. And like the difference between them is so cool. The remotes are so different. It's so different. It's so cool.
Cathode ray tube CRT television that's doing the crackling.
The old school. The TV's like,
and
the screen is like literally this big, and the TV is like this deep.
Yes.
It's so tiny. And then the volume's on the TV. You have to like press it down, and it goes down in little blue or green bars. It's so funny.
Kate actually has one in his room.
One of the old ones.
It's not hooked up, but just this giant box TV that's 1.5 foot deep. So we need to see if the little VHS tape in there still works, because our old players stopped working, and we still have all these original VSH. I always mess that up. VHS tapes. So we got to figure out if that bigger TV can actually play them, but we haven't had it on in years.
Okay, so as we go through this, they choose to trust, as we talked about, older Erin, and they put like younger Erin's trying to get red backpack Erin's trying to get him to go through the portal to this weird future place, and so I had totally forgotten that they. So do you guys know what the tabletop? We didn't necessarily call it that, but did you get? Rena or Kate, did you know what that was when they tabletop her and push her through the portal? Yeah. You guys didn't do that to each other? The drop down behind somebody? Yeah.
No, I think that one flew right over my head, honestly.
I don't think I never had a name for it. I think
We didn't call it that, but yeah, we totally did
well,
that.
I think we called it something, and I can't remember what it was. Maybe
Or
it was
if you had it done to us, is more appropriate.
right. Have a nice trip. See you next fall, sort of thing.
Yes.
Oh, well, yeah.
That, and you would do you'd come up behind them, and as they were walking, you would kick the back heel into their front foot as they picked it up off the ground and like send them to the ground. And yeah, we were mean.
Yeah. No, I had that done to me once. It's not nice.
No, we did it
No, it's
all the time.
But I want to point out one more thing that I think we're glancing over here.
Oh yes, we had not got to Mac's discovery.
And that's this I think like sets the stage. I'm very linear. I can't talk about things that happen after this.
Yeah.
But just like Mac's face is the same in all three panels, and then her mouth is just a tiny bit more open at the bottom. And she's like, well, okay then. Sorry to bother you. We'll cancel the subscription. And like so she's obviously going to deal with this in one way, and that's like, I'm going to die, so it doesn't matter if I smoke or whatever. And you can just see like the realization on Tiffany's face, and that's just a powerful.
Yeah.
To me, that's a really powerful page in this whole book.
No, it is. So yeah, when the errands go off to the mall, Mac and Tiffany go to try to find one of their houses. So they go to Tiffany's house or Mac's house, and yeah, they get this news that the family moved after the daughter died from leukemia in like 92. So Mac's like, oh, I got a time limit.
Well, just this
Yeah,
panel
it's-
right there.
Oh yeah, and you get the cover.
I don't have a wrench. I can't kick this bot out here.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't watching. Yeah, goodbye, bot. So, I don't know. There should be like 3 wrenches in there. What the heck? Where are my wrenches at?
Sharon has one. John has one.
That's
John's
all
up to
okay.
his kids.
So that's okay. We got rid of the bot.
Well, and I also who else appreciated just the water bears? Did
They're
anybody
so
else
cool.
appreciate that?
Yeah, and completely just random that these like insects that come through the folding like get enlarged and like these little micro like things and and they're tearing up downtown and I'm like, but how is this advancing the story? What is happening?
Other than they fight some giant bugs later. Yeah.
I mean they have to. It's how Red Backpack Aaron kind of gets in their good graces by helping the first 2 get away from one of these kind of creatures. But it's just like, why are they? Why? Old Wolf has been angling for a wrench, but I'm in StreamYard and I can't give you a wrench from here. I don't think so.
Right, so yeah, it's Red Backpack Aaron seems to indicate that like they just were on her clothing or something, like, and then they got magnified when they came through.
Which still doesn't make like sense to me. But again, it's time travel and like that kind of
Magic
stuff.
and warping and dimensions.
Yeah, so anything else you guys want to get to before we kind of get to the wrap up here, the last part of this, after they Aaron decides to trust older her rather than Red Backpack her, or her clone. Anything else that we missed, Tacoma, that you wanted to really touch on?
So again, I absolutely get that this story can be confusing, and having the luxury of reading it through for the second time, focus on the story of the friendship and don't try to like figure out what's going on. But I do find it interesting. There's this character called Grandfather, speaks perfect English, but all of his underlings speak this sort of broken pidgin, Shakespearean, almost Irish lilt English. Sir, fellow clergy be tweeting retcons all along this point. my boys began to ablution. So it's, if there's a reason for how they develop, to be interesting. But again, I don't think that's the point of this story, is to like get into the whys and wheres for all these different groups and whatnot. So I don't know.
Yeah. And you do notice, like, and we didn't talk about it, but like his shirt is Apple Ranch. So there's an apple on his shirt as well. Like, and we didn't talk. So it's like, okay, so who's really, again, you don't know who they should be trusting and who they shouldn't. And it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out and what's really going on here. Because what, like, trying to understand what prompted it. Was it the guys in the mask originally that like came back and like broke because they came through time? They created a time warp and then the girls found the machine? Was it like what caused all this to start? And who's really behind a lot of it? So it'll be interesting to see where this goes. But one of the moments I love is like that we get into is after they get away from Red Backpack Aaron and old Aaron calls in help, and we get to see the little sister finally. We see Missy, and I love Missy's realization that like, whereas Aaron didn't recognize herself at all, Missy instantly recognizes, you're my big sister, Little. Like, I love that moment. What did you think of that moment, Kate? Anybody else?
It was funny, like, just exactly like you said, how it was exactly like you said, how her little sister recognized her quicker than her own. Like, she didn't recognize her own body when she was younger. That was really funny. But Missy's such a great character. She's so cool. And then the younger one, or the Erin, the older sister, calling her younger sister kiddo, even though the age difference looks so different in this timeline. It's so funny.
Yeah, and like how proud she is of her. You're staring at a werewolf. You know, it's like
she calls her like kiddo or something, right?
Nice job,
like,
kid.
Good job, kiddo.
Nice job, kid. Yeah.
I just thought that was a really great moment because it is like as soon as she makes eye contact, she's like, "Oh my gosh, you're." She knows exactly who it is, like without any explanation. So I just thought that was a really fun and cool little moment.
Does anybody else feel like the grandfather character knows exactly who the four of them are? Like, you know, especially that one line right before the volume ends where he says, "My girls will handle the rest." Like, I feel like he's talking about our paper girls, but that's just me.
But yet he's like, it's weird. It's almost like he knows everything. Yeah, because at the beginning, though, at the end of the first volume, when they first go through the first folding, like he's clearly like, oh no, like bad things are going to happen. Where it's the fate, he's like, this is bad, and yet later it almost like he feels like he knows what's going on, like in terms of what they're like, what the girls are going through. So it is kind of a weird,
He's almost above it all, like in a way where he's. You know, he even has this organization built up, but he doesn't really trust them, and they're not privy to his machinations. They're his own. Is definitely a dictatorship. It's not like a group think. So he's got his own agenda for sure. Whether it's what Rena said or not, I don't know. But he seems to. But again, I come back to like it's everybody knows what's best for them, not necessarily what's best for these four girls.
Yeah,
and I think that's going to be kind of the recurring theme that we see throughout with this group of paper girls.
For sure, and it's
definitely,
you know, because it's kind of there's a twist here because he's focused on basically capturing every teenage female, school age female, so they can process to try to, which seems like he's trying to catch them. And then yet he also says my girl. So is he talking about the paper girls or is he talking about other girls that we haven't met yet? Or there's definitely he definitely knows more than we're getting from him. And like maybe the only person that has any idea what's actually happening. Because I don't even feel like these folks that are like writing the dinosaurs like really know what's going on.
No.
And so it's very confusing. And the other question is like, because you have time travel, is this guy before or after the guy that saw them escape through the time portal? Like, where is he in his own timeline at this point? Because, like, were they able to follow him to the future, or is this much later for him that he's trying to get to this point and catch them? It's just a
or if it's even a future, or like if there's a time version of even him, maybe that's why he seems to know a little bit more what's going on now than he did before. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe this is like 30 years later for him or something, and so it's just interesting. So they get to the fourth folding here, and they all take the leap to try to escape as all those weird green eyeball things are attacking the helicopter. And they fall. Go ahead.
No.
Oh, I thought you were going to go ahead. Yeah, if you had something to say, go through. And they fall through the portal, and they give you a little like twist here at the beginning, because you only see Aaron and Mac at the beginning, and they're like, "Oh, KJ, they're reunited." And it's like, wait, are we losing Tiffany now? They give you the little bait and switch.
Yeah, I was like, man, are we just gonna lose one of them every issue? Yeah.
So it's like, oh, now we lost Tiffany, but no, she just landed in the lake. But we get there, we get to reveal that at least this version of KJ doesn't know that she wrote anything on the stick. So it's clearly not the stick from her. It's a stick from some future version of them, probably.
Right.
And then we get a weird goat devil symbol on this hill that they're on.
With the Apple logo.
Yep, with the
Apple logo. Like, so.
And also to be continued is written in the font of like video games from the era. So
yeah.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, the 8-bit to be continued at the bottom for sure. Like 8-bit video game to be continued down here. And so what did you think of the wrap up here? Kate, we'll let you go this time. What did you think of how this volume ends? I know you've cheated and went a little ways ahead, but what did you think when you got to this point?
It was like confusing, the ending, and then it kind of gives you the vibe where it's like this is going to keep going for so long, because if they're going to keep traveling and trying to escape, it's going to happen again. And it definitely makes you think that Tiffany's gone. And I was reading it like, are you kidding me? Like, another one's disappearing? But it was super funny that she like appeared in the lake. And then I was like, okay, I like it might be a little bit normal for a while. And then you see the giant goat on the mountain and you're like, oh God, here we go again.
Yeah.
Go again.
So yeah, Rena, what about you? What did you think of this ending? As I feel like maybe you're the person that was the most annoyed by the confusion for sure.
Well, I'm hoping that with the volumes to come that they kind of clean it up a little bit, because kind of like how Kate said, it's just been one thing after another, and I feel like that's all these first two issues have been, is our characters are basically just running through these different tables and have no idea what's going on. So because if it's only 6 issues, I'm kind of hoping that the next like 3 and 4 actually have them start to figure things out and can actually start to get to the roots of the problem, rather than just kind of running around with like chickens with their heads cut off. So that's certainly one thing I hope to look forward to. Also, I just wanted to point this out real quick. It's not important or anything, but I just wanted to see if anybody else caught this. Did you notice that all of the sound effects that start with a C are actually, they spell it all with a K? I don't know. It struck me as weird. Like when Tiffany comes out of the water and she goes cough cough, it's spelled KOFF. Okay, that's not a big deal. Maybe it's just kind of like trying to give emphasis on how she's coughing. But before, when you meet Red Backpack Aaron for the first time, and she encounters that random girl with the cell phone, the random girl with the cell phone she like takes a photo with her phone and it's spelled KLI like K. It's like click but with K's. I don't know if that was like I don't know if that was just a stylistic choice or if it was
That would be my
because
guess, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
yeah,
I didn't-
like I didn't
I
know
didn't
if it
catch
was
that,
like
but-
supposed to be like a subtle hint of them like jumping through time and jumping through, you know, these portals is like when they're in these different situations, the words kind of change. But I just like I said, nothing important, just I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. That is you're right. I didn't catch that. So it may just be a stylistic choice of the letterer or the, you know, but so I did not catch any of that. So interesting. Tacoma, do you have any other final thoughts about these first two volumes and how we ended up?
I think it's very classic, classic kind of 80s serial stuff that they're all together now, but yet here's the goat on the mountain sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that. There's a consistency to the storytelling style here. And even when the color palettes change, there's a consistency to the type of colors and that they have, and consistency to the just the use of the matte stuff and nothing too bright. So I kind of dig it. I'm just interested to see if my take on it is any different this time than it originally was. I'll leave it at that.
So yeah, it is very much. I'm with Rena. I think we really need to start getting, not necessarily like full answers, but they need to start being less reactionary and more. At some point during volumes 3 and 4, they need to start being proactive instead of reactionary to start like actually moving the story. So I am looking forward to that. I'm along for the ride. I'm very much hooked, and it really has to do with the girls themselves, I think, as much as anything, because the story is crazy confusing, but for me so far it's been confusing in a good way. I will say there was one other moment I forgot about that I wanted to touch on, which is when younger Aaron and older Aaron are going to the mall, and and you see because we'd seen we talked about at the beginning, younger Aaron, when she sees herself, you see her put her head down oh, this is older me. And then and you kind of see older Aaron feeling that oh, you must be so disappointed and everything. And her then reassuring herself. I just thought that was maybe did she initially think, oh, I was hoping to be rich and whatever, but it was no, you're fine. It's good. It's fine, that you're doing okay, and reassuring yourself. So I thought that was a really fun and good moment of the two of them, her, older and younger version of herself actually coming together to so what did you think of that? I was curious. So I know I'm jumping back into the story, but that was a moment I wanted to talk about and I forgot. So go ahead, Tacoma, or
I agree. I think it was a nice little touch. And that's again, one of the themes of this is just this idea of growing up and how do you accept things when they don't turn out the way that you thought they were going to turn out? And she's partially, reassuring older herself, oh no, you're wonderful, but she's also reassuring her own self, oh, this is not so bad. Once you meet yourself and you realize you're not what you thought you were going to be, but then you have to assess, well, is this okay? And well, this person's helping us, this person is good, this person has a job. So there's kind of this feeling okay, I'm accepting that it's different than I thought it was going to be, but it's still okay.
Yeah. What about you, Rena? What did you think about that little turn?
I thought it was a nice scene between the two of them. I mean, because this really is the first time that it's just the two of them alone. And I think it's kind of, it's like one of those rhetorical questions that they always ask, when you're in college, what would you do if you could go back and you could talk to your younger self, what would you tell them? So I think that was kind of a nice spin on that topic of, she's actually getting to talk to her younger self and tell her, look, you don't have all the answers right now, but you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
So
For sure. And then
I just thought it was good because then they're like really well coordinated when they're getting the hockey stick down, and everything of that sort. So I don't know. I thought it was a really good scene for between the two of them, and I kind of hope I'm wrong and that older Erin is like the one that they can trust and that we actually get to see her again. Because like when they no scope dive out of the airplane, it's like what kind of happens to older Erin and older
Misty and Aaron, yeah.
Yeah,
Not in a good way at that moment. For sure.
Yeah. So I mean, like, fingers crossed they're not dead, but
Okay. I got rid of this person, but they're back. And block the user. Slightly different, I guess. So, Kate, what did you think about that scene?
I thought it was really cute that like younger Erin, even though she's slightly disappointed with how her older self turned out, she's still reassuring her that like you're still a great person, you're still nice, you're still like living your life and you're cool. Like she's like, I like your haircut and I love your shirt. Like they're just like talking like regular. It's so funny. And then they hug each other, or it's more like older Erin kind of hugs younger Erin.
Yeah.
And then they like back away and they're kind of like, nothing happened there. What do you mean? And then I don't know, it's just kind of funny. I really like that conversation though. The reassurance. Older Erin definitely needed that from her younger self.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we kind of already did our final thoughts overall, like on the ending and stuff. So talked a little bit about where we want to see this go. You guys have anything else you want to add before we wrap this up? Kate, I'll let you go first. Anything you want to add to before we get out of here?
I do want to see older Erin again at some point.
Yeah.
Not really anything else. I like the story so far. I hope it gets less confusing. That's basically it.
Yeah. Okay. Rena, you got anything to add here at the end?
No, I kind of said my main points. I hope that they kind of stop running around, and that they start to figure some of this out and get back. I am kind of hoping that they explain a little bit more as to what's actually going on and try and better blend that mix of time and kind of monsters. So that's kind of what I'm looking forward to. But I mean, I would say that I liked the second volume a whole lot more than I liked the first volume. So it still has me enough to where I want to see where it goes next.
Yeah. Tacoma, what about you? Anything to add here at the end?
So there's something in here that was good enough to get this picked up as a TV show, which rarely happens, right? You've talked about
that it actually gets made.
Right, that actually gets all the way through to this point. And you hope it's not just an 80s nostalgia thing, because that will only work for a very short period of time on a very small amount of people. So, you have to assume that it's the friendship, not that they've figured out some brand new time traveling, way of telling a story, because it's all been done before. No matter how cool and crazy it is, it's all been done before. And the more you try to think you've got the explanation to the paradoxes, the more you just end up in more paradoxes. You know, I do like, though, back in the first or second issue, they talked about you also have to think about space, not just time, when you're time traveling, because if you go back, if you jump forward half an hour, the world turns and you're going to be in a different place if you don't also jump your location. I thought that was interesting from that point of view. But, in general, I think it's to me, it's a story of four girls that are bonded by like a shared, job, and how they make it through this tough time in their life through that bond. So,
No, I definitely think it's being, like I said, I've enjoyed the craziness to this point. But it's the reason that like I've tolerated it is because of the characters and because of like the girls themselves and how they're, you know, their relationship and how they're interacting and how they're handling just being thrown into this. And I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. I'm on for the ride, so hopefully, yeah, I'm looking forward to see how this turns out. I will say that, like, funnily enough, that in some ways, older Erin's kind of my favorite character, so I hope she comes back. Like she was just her reaction to meeting her younger self, and so I hope that Rena is wrong and that she's not the one they shouldn't trust. But we will see. So with that, we're gonna get out of here. We went way longer, but we did 2 volumes, so I appreciate you guys hanging in with us. Glad to see Glitter Duct Tape. Haven't seen her in the chat for a while. Glad to see you, Crystal. Thank you to these, you know, John and Sharon. They felt, you know, thank them for hanging out a little bit. And then Old Wolf was hanging out with us, so appreciate that. And then we got Cade walking by like a couple times.
Yeah, he was very busy.
He was on the move. So with that, we're gonna get out of here. Thank you guys for watching, and we will catch you next time. Later.